Welcome back, everybody. I was supposed to release track 2 yesterday, but then very spontaneously got a invitation to go to a pool at somebody's rooftop, and I thought, what the heck, let's just go and celebrate, because I had also just received the trophy for my award, and ended up doing that, and I wasn't able to finish the video for the track 2. So I'm going to announce it today, but nonetheless it was very nice, and I also posted some pictures and video on my Instagram. If you want to watch it, find me on Instagram and you can see it. And somebody also was asking about my fake tattoos, so here they are. I also post some pictures on these on Instagram. If you want to look at it, it's fun. It's fake though, so I just wash it out afterwards. So let's talk about track 2. To recap, the main goal of this channel, at least at this point, is knowledge drop to help expand and evolve consciousness 2020 moving forward, based on a lot of the research that I've done myself in my lab, as well as other sciences, a culmination of them all, packaging them in a way that it's very tangible, away from all the jargons, and coming up with certain ways in which we could do it. One of them being the tracks that I'm announcing. So doing announcement, it's not the norm. It just happened to be part of the videos of this week, and it is as if we are at a point where these announcements were supposed to happen, because they sort of matured. The research matured, the conversations matured, and then these soundtracks, along with the volume that I'll be announcing, matured. So we are at that junction in time. Moving forward though, I'll keep up with a knowledge drop, and as I do more creation, I will do those announcements as well. But the main goal of this channel is not to just do announcement. It just so happens to be that way this week. So track 2 was a little bit tricky to do, because one of the main goals of it, I wanted to be addressing the brain frequencies that we produce and go through during the time when we are very upset, frustrated, borderline angry. And when I was in lab doing these type of studies and altered momentarily the perception of the participants with the approval of ethics of the university, one of the things that I noticed, and it was a pattern that I noticed over a long period of time, was that when it came to those frequencies, the brain was all over the place. It was not only left, right, back, and front, it was all over the place. And also the type of frequencies were all over the place as well. So when I was experimenting to do these soundtracks, I wanted to make sure that the sounds are composed in a way that they are able to gradually gather these frequencies and make them a little bit more constructive, if you will. If you remember, in the past we talked about how we should use these brain frequencies and cellular frequencies to be constructive as opposed to destructive. And also remember that my message is never about, oh, let's just all be peaceful and all be zen and not do anything else. In fact, it's the other way around. It is, in a way, designed so that we could use them for the better. Because the brain frequencies of anger and frustration could potentially be very challenging to a person who's not who's in the middle of it, if you've ever had a discussion or a fight with somebody who's really angry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is no way to calm anybody down. You just have to wait it out. That's because those frequencies are all over the place. They're mid beta, high beta, sometimes even gamma, and they're all over the place. So that's why it's very delicate to work with them. And we also talked about purpose. So you have picked up your fight. You have picked up your purpose. We just need to be able to use these frequencies so that we get the energy of these very badass frequencies and help us push ourselves more towards the goal and the purpose that we have chosen. So I will never tell you to stop with your purpose, to stop with your fight. On the contrary, we already talked about having a purpose is a must, even if you choose one for yourself temporarily. But the goal here is to be able to learn how to use those frequencies, and instead of hurting ourselves, we actually build up our lives instead. Because some people, when they are frustrated, especially over a long period of time, maybe they turn into alcoholism or drugs or abuse and etc. But with these, the way we are tackling them, we are trying to teach ourselves so that we could use these frequencies and maybe put it towards a good thing, towards a. So I hope that that difference was clear here, because sometimes I hear comments that people think that the message is let's go on all up in mountains and meditate. That's not at all what I'm saying. I mean, if you just look at what I do that too, because I also sometimes very upset, and then I switch it, and then I do my work towards my purpose instead, which I'm hoping it's helpful to myself and to everybody else around me. So going back to track 2, that's why it was very tricky to do. So I had to work with all these frequencies and making sure that when we are frustrated, how do you actually, gather those frequencies and those really high energy and not irritate the person more than they are already. And so this track is a little bit shorter. It's about 3 minutes something. The clip that I'm gonna post it right after this video is, I chose only 1 minute and 20 seconds to give you a feel for what it is. But for specifically this track, you need to listen to the whole thing, because otherwise you won't see what I'm trying to say. Because when we're dealing with frequencies of anger and frustration, we need a little bit longer time to go with those frequencies before we can put them back on track so they become constructive for you. So almost about 2 minutes you will notice of this track. Once you get access to the full track, it is still trying to work with those frequencies, because the track will also sound a little bit chaotic in the beginning, and it is by design. By design, it's a little bit chaotic. There are different sounds at different point in time, and then they vanish, and then another sound comes in. So it's like I composed it such that it kind of mimics the frequencies of the person who's listening, who's a little bit already agitated, already a little bit angry and frustrated. Because you can't go and listen to something is like la la, in the la la land when you're angry. If you've noticed, when you're angry, you're more attracted towards songs that are a little bit more aggressive, like Eminem. I think that's what he's called, the rapper. Sometimes when I'm really upset, I actually like listening to his sound just because it's a little bit aggressive. And so those aggressive tones, they actually resonate then with my frequencies. And that's what also a little bit what this first 2 minutes of this track is supposed to do. It's supposed to mimic, and it's supposed to become friend with your agitated frequencies. you know, because it can't go very peaceful, because you would reject it right away. Your frequencies would reject it right away. And then after about 2 minutes, then I'm introducing some sounds that are supposed to harmonize those brain frequencies a little bit. But I'm still putting those a little bit of agitated here and there, just so that your brain doesn't reject it. You see the difference? That's why this track took a long time to do, because every single one that I did, I tested. So that's why it was a little bit tricky. And to give you an example of myself, the other day that I told you already, when I was upset, I went and immediately listened to this track. And I had to listen to it actually twice, because I was upset. I was really upset. And then after the second one, it helps. Now, I also don't mean that these are the soundtracks that you should listen to only. This is just one thing that you could do. I'm sure you already have other things that you do when you are frustrated. I'm just providing you with an extra, element, if you will, based on science and based on things that I have developed, so that you could have another element, to use when you're going through those emotions. And one way also to optimize when you listen to this, be it the sample or the full track, is again, use the wire, if you have it, the headset with the wire, so that you decrease the EMFs, because we don't want to agitate the brain even more with the wireless one. If you have, of course, if you have it. And then again, closing your eyes, but you may not be able to do it if you're too upset. In that case, if you can't do it, one thing that helps is body movements. And sometimes I do like claps like this, depending on how angry I am, or I go like this, or I just like hit the table, something like that, because you want to get rid of some of these excessive energy. And so you're more than welcome to do it if you're that upset when you're listening to this track, because that would also help you release that a little bit. Sometimes I also just walk a little bit, walk back and forth if I really feel to. So listen to your body and see what your body tells you to do, and you can do that. If your body wants to be a little bit physical movement, you can do that as well. But still listen with intention, and your intention is to work with your upsetting frequencies and bringing them back so that you can become constructive again, and then move on with your life as it was. And you may have to do it several times. It really depends on your state. And if you feel at some point that you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. That means you're ready, because then when you close your eyes, immediately your frequency goes down, and that's what you want. So that's a little bit of a trick as to how to listen to this particular track. I will put this sample, I will post it right after this video. And like last time, I just call it sample track 2. So you can listen to it, but please listen again with headset, because otherwise you won't get the effect. And then I will put a link below if you want to access the full track like last time. And thank you so much to all of you who ordered it. It really, really warmed my heart. And also you guys gave me feedback that it did help you. And that's, to me, the most important part. Another thing that I want to announce, and then that's the full announcement for this week, is that my volume is coming up. And I really, really, really believe in this volume. I will talk a little bit more about it in the future, but I'm going to put a link down here as well if you want to pre-order it. And it's going to take me a few weeks to finish it up and then give it to the editor. So about the volume, I will go into details of the topics that we've been talking about, but also much more than that, because there are certain topics that I refrain from speaking on these videos about until they are written down in this volume. And then if you guys want, we can go much more in depth with it. But I'm very happy and very proud about this volume, just because thanks to COVID, the direction changed 180. I was writing a volume that was towards corporate and business, totally different, again, from scientific and neuroscience perspective. But thanks to COVID, it all changed. And now it's geared more towards humanity. And I have to say that I am personally much happier about the results than for the corporate. This volume is short and sweet and straight to the point. There is no BS involved. It's not like your typical book where half of it is just either about the author or about the process in which they came to that book or about other literatures. Because, you know, people are not stupid. They can do their own research. And so I don't believe in repeating what everybody else is saying or talking all about how I got into the points that I got into. And because of that, I made it so that it's just about the gist and the result of the research. A combination of 6 different sciences, all impact in one volume. Part of it is the result of my own lab studies. Part of it is the result of Planck, Bohr, Pribram, Einstein, you name it. It's amazing. And bringing them all together, but there won't be even one sentence that you would read in this volume where you think it's a waste of time, because I have designed it so that every single sentence can actually be read several times, because it's all a combination of the result of all these years of research, along with the past 100 years of quantum mechanics studies, physics, even astrology, neuroscience, cognitive sciences, etc. So it's that impact. One of the main reasons I chose to write it so impact is because I learned something throughout all these years that I've been reading books, and I'm talking specifically about self-help books, self-improvement books. I'm not talking about fictitious or sci-fi books or storytelling books. Obviously, they are different. But when it comes to self-help books, if you've ever taken notes, which I always do, I noticed a pattern after all these years is that every time I took notes, most of the book was about either the author or about the way in which they came to the result, or a lot of examples. And I totally get it. I totally understand. But I noticed that I was very interested just about, hey, what is the results and what am I supposed to learn from this book? What is the gist of this book? And then I would take notes. I would read the other parts, but I would disregard like taking notes of them. I would just take notes of the parts that were just the gist of the book. And something interesting happened. Over the years, I noticed a pattern. And on average, there were only 21 pages of these books that were the gist of the book that I was interested in. So it was just more or less up and down, just 21 pages basically. And then I thought 21 adds to 3, and 3 is a magic number if you know already, and I'm sure all of you do. And, some of them would be 24, some of them, but on average, I averaged them. And so then I read the book As a Man Thinketh. If you haven't read it by Alan Watts, please read it. It'll change your life. And he actually had a volume of 21 pages. And I'm like, this is it. If I ever wanted to do something really, really compact, I should say, This is how I want to present the data. It's very compact, and it's cut right to the chase, and it's worth every single moment that I spend on it. I never felt like I was wasting my time reading that. And that's why I always kept also reading my own notes as opposed to the book once I finished a book. And so that is the reason, one of the reasons I chose also to write this volume, which is very compact, and also it is designed so that it really goes into a lot of details, but it has no jargons. It has no sentence where I would feel like I'm wasting my time. And it's a combination of all these sciences, and they're all brought in together so that it gives you enough food for thought as to what you need to do next in terms of the expansion and evolution of consciousness of humanity. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because it is not this sort of one of those, work that is just go on and on and on forever, if you know what I mean. So I really hope that you guys feel as excited about it as I do. I will put the links both to the track and also to the volume if you want to do that. The volume is still pre-order because I still have to finish it, and also I still have to give it to the editor to make sure that there are no grammar errors and the formatting is good and all those good stuff, and then I'll put it in there as well. And then I really appreciate everybody's feedback. I know that our channel is still small, but I also feel that we are at a point of where we could expand. So if you guys feel like it, feel free to like and share these videos, because I feel like we are at a point where we could expand a little bit, and I feel ready. I feel we're ready. So thanks again for watching, and give me more feedback if you love, and then I see you next time.